13th, did I say February? Friday, no. I guess it is Friday the 13th. This is Friday, November the 13th of 2020. Good morning. Notice is given for a special meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County, Texas. That is this date, this time. We are at the 114 West Buffington Avenue in Anderson, Texas. The meeting, agenda item number 1 is called to order. Agenda item number 2, consider and take action to certify the canvass the returns of the November 3rd, 2020 general election for both Democratic and Republican parties and the county. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Lucy Ibarra, our elections administrator for Grimes County. Good morning.
Good morning. So attached, you have a couple of reports. The first one, of course, is the one that you guys are used to seeing, a little bit different format. So remember that we have new equipment, which also means a new counting system or tabulation system. So the reports are going to start looking a little different. These are a little bit easier to read. They give you a comparison just like they normally do. They will give you total votes in comparison to the voters and break it out by race. Of course, we have precinct by precinct and other returns in our office, which you guys usually just get a cumulative. The second report, which is a little bit thicker, is your total breakdown for each race. This is what the Secretary of State will see. So this is the actual canvassing document that we submitted this morning pending your approval. Let me know if you have any questions on it, especially the first report. The second one is not abnormal. We started using that report from the Secretary of State last November. That was a change that they implemented last year with one of my first elections under the EA. So you guys have seen that one before, but the first one is a little bit different.
Lucy, I have a question about
Sure.
provisional. Now, those provisional votes are ones that were counted,
Yes,
right? Not
absolutely.
just the total number?
Yes, not just
Okay.
the total. On election night, we record those totals for ENR, election night reporting. But
Right.
these are the ones that are actually cast
Okay.
and counted. Yes,
I
ma'am.
kind of thought that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I have a question for
Sure.
you too. The paper that comes out of the machine when we vote,
Uh-huh,
and then we run it through the scanner,
yes,
do you all keep those paper?
yes.
They're kept?
Yes, right now we have them separated. We're working on a better filing system for them, but right now we have them separated by voting precinct. But we'll keep them, they go with the record and stay with it for, the requirement is 22 months, we keep it for 24 months just in case.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those papers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of turnout.
12,000.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout, a lot bigger than the 2016 election, so that one was just a little over 9,000, this was over 12,000. We actually saw over 9,000 just in early voting, so we had a really good turnout this time. A lot of people very happy with our purchase with the new machines, the processes. We had some people who complained, that's normal, you're gonna get that, and especially with the amount of crowds that we saw, we knew our complaints would go up a little bit. But for the most part, people were happy with them, the machines, we did not have a lot of issues. We did have one election day location that went down for an hour. We were able to get it back up with no problem, it was just a couple of wiring issues. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the new equipment.
Do you have a tabulation anywhere of how many curbside votes were cast?
On election day, we only have 4 across the entire, all 10 locations. For early voting, we didn't track it, we didn't keep track of it.
Okay.
I will say that is the one downfall with the new equipment is the curbside option. It's a little bit more cumbersome, than what we thought. There's a lot more work hauling the entire suitcase with the entire machine out. So we may be looking at trying to find some additional support, to buy an actual curbside machine maybe in the next year or 2.
Does HART offer that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's called a Duo Go. So it'll be a little bit easier for us to operate and take the machines out versus right now we're taking the entire case out. And I don't know if you were in early voting, there's a couple times when I had it perched on my shoulder leaning into a truck. So we made it work though. I mean, most everybody, we had no issues with curbside at all. All of our election judges were able to take them out on the carts, things like that. It's just, I can see where some of my, especially my older election worker staff could struggle with having to pick up a case that's 30 pounds plus. So that might be something we look at.
Make sure that before next budget time, and I don't really want to talk about next budget,
Yeah.
but before next budget time, you get a quote of what it would do to provide for each of the precincts, one of those easier to accommodate.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Not a problem. I will say, this is the first year, so remember guys, we're vote centers. This will be the first year that we actually utilize vote centers in that program in the way, kind of the pathway it should be. So typically, we would always open all 100%, so all 15 locations. This time, we only opened 10. At first, there's a little pushback from the public. For the most part, though, once people got used to it and understood why, that we were not permanently closing locations, we were just trying to fully staff and better utilize the money, most everybody was happy. We didn't have a problem with dead times in one location, and they struggle with, one location seeing tons of people. Our election judges were talking to each other. The curbside option worked really well, but having 10 locations open and spreading them out in the county worked really well. So that's good for us. We want to see that vote center program actually is used like it's supposed to be to save us a little money. So that worked well. And we'll, over the next couple of weeks, I'll give y'all stats for all of that via email.
Is there somewhere in here the percent of registered voters that voted?
Sure.
At the top.
At the top,
In the dark
on the
box.
very front page of the black and white, you're right behind my certified statement. So where it says 12,475 of the 18,128, which would equal 68.82.
Okay.
So a higher amount, which is good. We maintain a little over 60% voter registration, and to maintain that in actual voter turnout is a good number for us.
So if we rounded it, we rounded to 69%.
You can round it, Judge, always round up.
Do
I
you,
think,
do you believe the large turnout for the election was because we had 2 commissioners and I think the county attorney on the ballot?
yes, absolutely, Commissioners. Y'all are the ones that pulled the crowd.
We tried.
Yeah, y'all tried. Y'all did good. May have to think about putting that on every ballot just to make sure y'all did.
Commissioner, that sounds like something I'd say. So don't be proud of it.
It is
Just
Friday, Judge.
wait till the next election.
All right. Are there any other questions for the election administrator? Missy Body, do you have any other comments for us?
That's it.
Then we have action item, consider and take action to certify and canvass the returns for the November 3rd, 2020 general election for both Democrat and Republican parties and the county. Is there a motion?
I move that we certify the canvass and return. We return the November 3rd election for both Democrat and Republican parties.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion before the court on agenda item number 2 from Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, consider and approve the 2020 Coronavirus Relief Fund, CRF, spending plan for Grimes County, Navasota, Iola, and Anderson Shiro Independent School Districts COVID-19 related expenses. The plan has been prepared and somewhere right here. This is something that the auditors have been keeping track of ever since the CARES Act was offered to the counties. Just as a reminder, Grimes County, on the basis of population, I think the number was 18,800. State allocated us $55 per person. Do the math, and that was over $1 million. We received upfront payment without solicitation, other than declaring the emergency, of over $200,000. The state did put requirements on us to spend monies in categories 1, 2, and 3 to the tune of 75%. Then, therefore, that allowed us to spend monies in categories 4, 5, and 6 to the tune of 25%, which is 100% of the amount granted. Auditors have monitored this very closely and put the plan together. We have also received money back from some of the municipalities on the basis of them not able to or wanting to or whatever spending the monies that were allocated to their jurisdictions, and they, through the proper procedure, returned those monies to the county. The county then incorporated those numbers into additional amounts for our spending plan. So Ms. Murphy, I see you working your calculator over there, but
Oh, yeah.
does that fairly well explain where we're at this time?
Yes, so you can see on this spreadsheet, the colorful spreadsheet.
Yes.
Up at the top right, the total budget, we were awarded the 1,029,000, and with the the municipality's allocation, we're up to 1,151. It's in the bold in the top right.
Correct.
So yes, what you said is correct.
And then, Commissioners, what you see in the following columns and pages is the accumulation of that information. I think what's key is if you look at the last page, I'll give you a moment to flip there, you'll see the green box for categories 1, 2, and 3 shows that we have a 75.519 expenditure, and in the blue box for categories 4, 5, and 6, we have a 24.48, which therefore says we have met the requirements for TDM and the CARES Act, and I won't say the strings that the state attached to this money, but we are in compliance, and on the basis of that, then our auditors are prepared to submit this plan today, which is the deadline for submitting that plan. You also have a breakdown of some of the expenses for the IOLA, and I do want to, well, I guess I
Those
don't
are separate.
need to cover that now because that's an
Right.
agenda item number 5, but
Right.
we'll talk about that then.
So the spending plan that you have before you, it ties to the breakdown. The breakdown is the colorful spreadsheet. So those numbers will tie to your spending plan. So you're able to see where they're derived from.
Jesse,
Yes.
this report probably says it somewhere, but the print's small enough I can't pick it up real quick. Bottom line, do you know what the total number was that we supported NIS, Navasota Independent School District with?
Yes. So the NISD, and that's going to be the one you were wanting to go to, but it's a separate agenda item.
And I'm going to ask you about Anderson Shiro and also IOLA.
Yes, sir. So NISD, we have a grand total of $264,287.21.
Okay.
Anderson is 51.
I'm sorry, which one?
Anderson is 51,997.89. And Iola is 86,8120. And those are all in your breakdowns for the Navasota,
Right.
Anderson, and Iola at the bottom.
And I know it's in the report, I just wasn't able to decipher it as quickly as you came up with. And we never did get any expense reports from Richards, is that
No,
correct?
sir, we have not.
Okay. And Commissioners, that was on the basis of when we were looking at the totals with the auditors, and I was of the opinion that we were gonna have a difficult time spending in categories 1, 2, and 3 in order for us to get to the 4, 5, and 6 monies. We invited the superintendents from all 4 school districts in and said, hey, if you folks need monies in categories 1, 2, and 3, that's going to help us eventually spend the funds in 4, 5, and 6. Would you like to participate in that? And overwhelmingly, they said yes. And on the basis of that, I guess of the monies that we had applied to Grimes County in whole, what is it, 264, 340, 350, about 400,000 of those monies ended up going to the school districts to help them with their COVID-related expenses. So I think that was great that the superintendents got involved and participated with us in this. It helped the county as a whole, but in return, we were able to help the school districts that chose to participate, so. And I think that's about 400,000 when you put it all together.
264.
Ma'am?
It's 315, right? 320 for the schools.
We didn't hear you with your math.
Around 320.
Was it 320? Okay. Well, I don't want to embellish the numbers, so around 320. Very good.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
My concern is this money was allocated for us to spend until the end of the year. I don't know where we are, but I know that it's been proposed by the National Association of Counties that we receive future funding. You know, they're propositioning the federal government to please, you
Right.
know, help counties to continue. My concern is with the lockdown over on the jail, things that we've been able to get the diversion crew to do, and they're still on lockdown. After December, we have expenses that we typically didn't plan for in our regular budget that will have to continue after December. So at some point, are we gonna look at those things? Because, you know, we got, you know, even at the annex in Navasota, we pay for mowing. And that's such a large property, you know. I know that what we've been paying has been coming out of COVID expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was not in my original proposed budget, you know. And I don't know when we're gonna come off of lockdown. I don't know what it's like in other people's precincts. If y'all are having to absorb some of the costs, you know, of that type of things. But it's some things we need to look at to see what are we paying for now that we're gonna have to continue.
Well, and that's, you're exactly right. I do think that some of the equipment that we've been able to purchase with this CARES money, not all of it, but some of it, we were able to purchase a lawnmower where the diversion crew had been providing their lawnmower and doing the mowing and things of that sort. We were able to get a lawnmower for our maintenance department, and then some of the community service activities that we've had working have been able to help us out in that respect. I've also put a mowing schedule together for yourself and Commissioner Cox. So when we can't get that community service, you'll know which week is yours to mow and which week is Commissioner Cox's week to mow.
I'm
Now,
looking-
see, that's something I would say, Commissioner.
I don't, what did you say?
No, but Commissioner, seriously, what you have stated is something that we do need to take a look at very carefully, because some of the things that we have been doing might not have to be done after the first of the year, but those things that we determined need to be continued, we're either going to have to figure how we come up with that money, or we hope that another infusion of CARES dollars might come our direction.
Okay, so it is my understanding that, you know, we're looking at things coming back to the budget, right?
Yes.
Especially with the new,
The law
the looser
enforcement.
restrictions and the new, the way they structured it. We're looking at things that come back to the budget, so I really think we should look at maybe reallocating some of that
To cover some
to
of the
cover those,
additional
because,
expenses.
you know, that's great what you're planning, but
Well, that's just one item, so
yeah, that's just one item.
Right.
But I think that we should sit down at some point and look at what all's in this budget.
we can certainly do that.
Once the funding comes in, yes, we'll
Yeah.
bring it back and,
Or, when you say once the funding, are you talking about the reimbursement of what we've
Yes.
spent thus far?
yes, I
Yeah.
assume that's what you're talking about, is once we receive the
Sure.
reimbursement, to bring it back into the budget to cover these expenses, unforeseen expenses.
We can certainly have a workshop to cover all of that.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And since Commissioner Cox didn't hear me, no, he has no question.
So with,
What's that?
I'm still messing with you.
I was-
Are there any other questions or comments on agenda item number 3?
I do have a clarification
All right.
question here. Just so I understand, the money that you're talking about coming back in and then having a workshop, that's not, that's not gonna impact the money to the school.
No,
No.
we're strictly
No.
talking about the salary expenses for the law enforcement that they just recently have allowed.
That, the other thing that comes to mind immediately, since we just had elections administrator in, we had a certain amount of dollars allocated for,
Harding, see.
from the HART expenditures on the new equipment. And I believe now we're going to be able to allocate more funds out of this
Yeah.
CARES money towards that, that wasn't gonna have to be taken out of general fund. So I think once we get the monies back in hand, and we can even have a workshop prior to on the belief that we are gonna get it, so we know where to apply it immediately and what services to continue.
And that amount for the Heart Interactive, it has increased from, originally we thought we were gonna get back 160, and now we're up to 246 if
246,
all
yeah.
of the proposed projects
Right.
move forward and we get the reimbursement, which basically takes care of all the, pretty much.
From the grants that we applied for and this CARES money, we effectively have been able to purchase all of that equipment to, well, without having to take from our general fund or budget dollars.
And I wanna just put this out in the internet, in the worldwide web. There was a lot of questions about Grimes County, not doing, like, supporting,
Business.
how do I wanna say it? Supporting businesses or paying rent for citizens and stuff like that. I'd like to say, based upon the 2010 census at $55 per person, as a small county, we received $1,029,380. That's a drop of what you see Harris County, Dallas County, Bexar County, Williamson County, all of those counties receiving across the United States. We just don't have the population.
And Commissioner, along with what you're saying, is not just Harris County, they got an allotment, then Houston got an allotment.
Yes.
Pasadena got an allotment. All of the cities within Harris County got allotments. So their bucket of money was pretty big.
Yes. So I want to put that out there because people are constantly asking, and I'm getting phone calls, what are y'all doing for citizens on paying rent? There are organizations, you can call 211
Yep.
to receive information on assistance. But as a county, that it wasn't a tremendous amount of money that we could help any individual or business with. We did what we could as far as supplying sanitizing and disinfecting apparatus and supplies. But as far as, being able to give out grants is what they were asking
Right.
for. We weren't able to give those grants.
And some of those bigger places, they didn't have the strings attached or the parameters that they had to
That's correct.
operate within. And then with regard to the rent, I believe there's a moratorium on evictions at this point for people not paying their rent.
I think it's been removed now. They've started back to, a couple of months ago, my understanding, they started back doing evictions because we've had evictions locally.
The issue on evictions was that if there was federal funding with HUD plans and all of that, then the feds put significant restrictions on, and then CDC, and I just went through this very recently, but then the CDC put the restriction that where typically it was a 72-hour notice for somebody to vacate, there was an extension of 30 days that was applied to that. So you're correct that there was a hold put on them, but they've relaxed that to some degree, except for those that, again, are HUD money or federal funding, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and those kind of things, different restrictions.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, is there a motion for agenda item number 3?
I make the motion that we approve the 2020 Coronavirus Relief Fund spending plan for Grimes County, Navasota, Iola, and Anderson Independent School Districts COVID-related expenses.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 3 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Go to agenda item number 4, consider and approve the transfer of coronavirus relief funds in the amount of up to $265,000 to Navasota ISD for eligible expenses that support the Operation Connectivity in alignment with CRF terms and conditions. CRF terms and conditions are attached. Ms. Murphy, do you have any comments on that?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. The spreadsheet before you just shows all of the invoices that they have submitted.
Sure.
And that's the amount that they've requested.
Commissioners, do you have any questions in regards to that?
I do.
Okay.
I would like you to just address, if you could, the CRF terms and conditions that schools had to meet, that the county also had to meet in terms of, I call you with questions about buying, purchasing, sanitizing, disinfecting equipment for our churches and public businesses. And it was brought to my attention that we would have to track that same equipment just like we track all of Grimes County's equipment. The schools also have to track the equipment. So that was going to be hard to do when you give something to a business tracking something outside of our RAM. So that was your assistant I talked to yesterday. So can you speak to that so that we'll all know?
So on October 30th, there was further guidance that was issued to us on how to help our local education agencies. And this included them complying with the same terms and conditions that we have to comply with. However, we haven't really received any type of guidance on for other local entities. So we have submitted, and our spending plan is due today. So no one has contacted us prior to this that I'm aware of or that I have knowledge of, or submitted any type of invoices. But we have we've submitted an inquiry on the TDOM portal in regards to that yesterday, since it was brought to our attention yesterday, and we're just waiting to receive a response.
Okay, so you hadn't received a response.
No, ma'am.
Okay, because I think I was the one proposed the question because it said we could do public health expenses, and that including sanitizing equipment. And before Mary left, we talked about the churches being public buildings and them buying sanitizing equipment so the public can go safely back into places of worship. But we
have not received any guidance on
Yes.
other local
we didn't
entities.
get the guidance we needed to move forward
Right.
with that. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, so that I don't have to address each church that
Yeah.
we did not receive the answers or the
Right.
guidance in
It wasn't
time.
ignored.
Yes,
Right.
in order to respond to this. So,
Yeah.
but the schools will have to follow the guidelines. They had guidelines in
Yes,
place.
there was guidelines issued for the local education agencies. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion on agenda item number 4 that we consider and approve the transfer of coronavirus relief fund, CRF, in the amount of $265,000 to Navasota ISD for eligible expenses that support the Operation Connectivity in alignment with the CFR terms and conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 4 by County Judge Joe Fath and seconded by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We'll go to agenda item number 5. Consider and approve the transfer of coronavirus relief fund, CRF, in the amount of up to $6,000. Before I go any further, Commissioners, if you will scratch the $6,000 and put the number into $8,681.20. And that's on the basis of additional information that was submitted to us after the agenda, but prior to today on our spending plan. So let me start over on agenda item number 5. Consider and approve the transfer of coronavirus relief fund, CRF, in the amount of up to $8,681.20 to Iola ISD for eligible expenses that support the Operation Connectivity in alignment with the CFR terms and conditions. CRF terms and conditions are attached.
So moved.
I have a motion,
Second.
Commissioner Mallett, a second by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion on agenda item number 5? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 6, consider and approve the transfer of coronavirus relief fund CRF in the amount of up to $52,000 to Anderson Shiro ISD for eligible expenses that support the Operation Connectivity in alignment with CRF terms and conditions, and those are attached.
So moved.
There's a motion first. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 6 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 7, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge as signatory. I see our illustrious Emergency Management Services Coordinator in the doorway. I had asked Mr. Lilly if he would to canvass our chiefs, and I know that he got responses from at least 7. Are you now 8 or still
Yes.
7?
Got responses from all 8. 5 said they felt there was a need for a burn ban. 3 said they did not at this time. Several reasons why those that felt it was not necessary yet was that, number 1, a lot of people are doing their burning, getting rid of their burn piles, and that does contribute to the overall risk factor when there are burn piles that haven't been removed. And secondly, there haven't been a lot of fire calls, which is actually kind of unusual when we're in this kind of a state, the significant dryness and the higher risk. But, we, again, like I've said before, it's kind of a balancing act to try and figure out what is in the best interest of the citizens in the county as far as whether or not to have a burn ban or not. I leave it at the court's discretion, but it wasn't evenly split, but there was, it wasn't a unanimous yay for having a burn ban at this time.
There was not a unanimous yay to have one.
Right, that's what I'm,
Okay.
yes.
Was it, I guess some of those that were for it saying it was just kind of a good idea, or that, hey, we really, really need it badly, or it was kind of a,
No, it was more like they felt it's more prudent to let's wait and see, allow citizens to continue getting rid of their burn piles, to reduce the overall risk, and let's see how it develops, especially over the next couple of days, see if we get any more rain. And if not, then, I know you guys are meeting again next Wednesday.
Correct.
We can readdress it then.
Correct. We had a good dampening fog today. We have a up to 30% chance Sunday and possibly Monday. So I'd recommend we take no action and reconsider this next Wednesday. But
I agree.
any citizens watching or listening, burn with caution, as you should always do.
Another factor that's in favor of allowing citizens to burn is we have not had a lot of wind.
Yeah.
That can change though. And again, we're watching the weather to see. Right now, weather patterns aren't indicating a real issue like we've had in the past where, when it's a combination of the dryness and the wind and, right now we don't have all those factors in place.
And we have not had a killing frost yet this year, thank
Yes,
goodness.
sir. So
And
I
the
really
only
urge-
counties I saw was Walker and Lee counties.
That's further.
Yes, yes. And like you were saying, Judge, I echo what you said. I urge citizens, if you have burn piles, now is the time to get rid of them, but do it properly. And as a courtesy, let your local VFD, your local fire department know if you're doing a controlled burn, so that sometimes they may be able to bring a brush truck out to monitor it with you, but at least if they're aware of it, that way if the citizen calls in and says they see a smoke plume, then they're already aware of it. That can reduce the number of unnecessary calls too. Thank you.
So, no action? No action. That'll take us to agenda item number 8, and that is a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Walker. The only comment I have is be safe, commissioners and citizens. It is Friday the 13th. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, we're adjourned.